technology, but also the team that we've been forming here. People really believe, and me, myself included, when I interviewed with Adam when it was, well, I can't have the chat open if I can see people talking about my my ums and uhs. So let me just exit out of that real quick. There we go. These investors brought together these top minds in aviation and robotics. Sorry, not the investors, the co-founders brought together the top minds in aviation and robotics and artificial intelligence from the high-tech companies in Silicon Valley and research labs from across the United States and across the world, actually. And to this point has become the leading US drone manufacturer and world leader in autonomous flight. Due to this incredible team. So it was something that was incredibly exciting to me when I joined the team when it was under 50 people. And I saw the team and saw the investors and met the leadership, and it was something that was like really a no-brainer for me. But at the time I wasn't really interested in joining anybody full-time, but just due to the fact of how impressed I was with the team that they had gathered here, that was enough to send me on my way to Skydio. So I want to talk a little bit about our mission. The founders really believe that autonomous technology has the power to make the world more productive and creative and safe, which is something that I've come to believe too. Given all the things that I've learned and seen here at Skydio, it's pretty incredible. I know you guys couldn't really see the video, but I'll send the link afterwards. But the fact that all of that footage is filmed autonomously by Skydio 2, just customers out in the wild capturing their best lives is pretty incredible to me. So currently we're one of the fastest small UAS manufacturers in the world, and our scaling capabilities, our focus is on scaling the capabilities of drones through autonomy and AI. So we really believe that by building this technology base layer, we're able to build on top of that Skydio autonomy technology, and that will breed the mass adoption of drones because it enables more and more people to access these types of use cases who with limited training and yeah. So let's just move on from this slide because obviously I'm. And so here's let's just let the footage speak for itself for a second. This is some footage from MIT back when Abe and Adam were first developing their research on computer vision. And this is a plane flying autonomously through this parking garage, and there's no known map. This was kind of like the first of its kind at the time to have a vehicle that can fly autonomously without actually having flown in that environment before. So let's try and recover here a little bit as I talk about the drone industry as a whole. I know probably a lot of you will recognize some of these companies and some of these products. All of these drones are made by companies that are either out of business or the product has been discontinued. And they all were seeking to do pretty much the same thing that Skydio has done with Skydio 2. Some of these products were launched then discontinued. Some of them were never delivered on. But really, the main thing to focus on here is that the technology just really wasn't developed enough to bring these types of use cases to market, and the execution wasn't really there to like bring the types of technology that you do really need in order to have something that's actually safe and reliable when it comes to a drone that can follow you and film your activities, or something that's just something that's smarter and can have more capability than the way drones are designed today. Something to just keep in mind here that the majority of these drones had no obstacle avoidance of any kind, making it difficult from the get-go to deliver anything that anybody could actually use for long periods of time. And what we see here is kind of the difference between these high aspirations for these use cases where everybody kind of imagines a drone, flying and filming itself, but the execution is not really there at that time. Also, I mean, not just the execution. Again, it's definitely the technology is very nascent. The technologies that are in this product in Skydio 2, it's really just becoming possible to do today. And something to think about is with these technological breakthroughs just in hardware itself, there's been over the last 4 or 5 years this decrease in camera sensor, the cost of camera sensors, the cost of components, as well as an increase in the exponential growth of battery technology and enabling drones to become basically flying cameras that are incrementally updated over time to have better flight time, to have better camera sensors and resolution, and to fly further. But really, these are still reliant on that operator that has to be in control at all times and making sure that all of the work is getting done. So really, the operator is doing the majority of the work in these instances. And so we see on the flip side here, we see that as we get more mature in the drone industry, as we come up close to about 20 years now that we've had these consumer electronics, we see a lot of marketing towards these areas where there's autonomous flying capabilities and obstacle avoidance, but really there's not a lot of actual innovation on the product front. The hardware is improving, but the software that would actually enable these use cases to become a reality haven't really played out, which is why the #1 concern for drone pilots is still the risk of crashing. And this is similar across the consumer sector as well as the enterprise sector. With the drone industry being so new, drone programs have a very difficult time getting scaling their drone programs when crashes are prevalent, because if you're trying to convince somebody that drones are the future, then whenever you crash them and you lose money and you have to replace them, that argument seems less and less valid. So reliable obstacle avoidance makes drones in general much more interesting to everyday people as well, because, well, for obvious reasons, if you're less scared of crashing, you're more likely to actually fly a drone, pick up a controller, and actually use it. And something that I think is really cool about Skydio is that all of our visualizations for launch videos and on our website, none of these are computer-generated graphics, anything like that. This is computer vision point cloud visualizations that are literally, this is how the drone is actually seeing the world. It's how it understands how far away or how close an obstacle is. And because Skydio came onto the scene with Skydio R1 around 2017, 2019, that's kind of the same period that these component prices are falling, and AI training costs are dropping by 100-fold between the 2017 and 2019. This is now something that is actually possible to be processed on board with a computer on a drone, which is something that's kind of unheard of. And here's a really cool example that a lot of you have probably seen before. This is on our website, but this was before the development of the beacon. This was like early in the development of Skydio 2, and you can really see, while you know, I don't want to like call out competitors here, but you can see in competitors' launch videos, their CGI renderings of their drones bouncing, dipping, and diving around obstacles, when clearly it takes a different kind of drone to be able to do that. And Skydio has obviously been building for that, and this is the result. You get incredible footage that the drone even can, when you go out of sight, it can predict where you're going to come out on the other side of that tree there. So the drone loses sight there, whips around, and it's able to catch up. And this is all vision, no GPS, before the beacon was even a twinkle in our eye. And this is another one of my favorite videos, just from the early days of testing Skydio 2, where we call it drone on drone, where we put two Skydio 2s tracking the same subject, just at different distances, and we hope they don't run into each other, which they can. So I don't suggest you you do this at home with you and your friends Skydio 2, but it is definitely a cool way to really see how Skydio 2 is dipping and dodging and diving underneath obstacles. And this is also no beacon, no GPS tracking, all visual, and also most importantly, no CGI. This is just, you know, straight out the camera, and it's really fun to watch. And so Skydio's goal, whether we achieve it or not, is always to have innovation and execution on par with each other. So we're really focused on not over marketing the product, not using production teams to come in and film our launch videos, which is why we have such a focus on the community. Community engagement is so super important to us, because almost all of our content is shot autonomously by the customers of the product, which is something that like a lot of people really don't realize. And one of the coolest things about the product, and what like really set us up for success, was when we had to shoot the launch video, and we were you know, coming back up on deadlines for producing it, and the product was still early in a prototype, and we basically just took 8 to 10 of them. I think it was only 8 to 10 people that actually ended up filming footage for us for the launch video, but it was basically just friends of the company and people that we had worked with before. We just kind of sent it out, and then after 3 to 4 weeks, we edited together our launch video and launched the product with footage that was shot completely by athletes. They weren't like content creators or filmmakers. They were just athletes who went out doing what they love, and let Skydio 2 go along for the ride. So I want to talk a little bit about that technological base layer that I was talking about, that we call Skydio AUTONOMY. And it allows Skydio 2 to see the world, it allows it to understand the world, and then it allows it to act on that. And so what do I mean by that? Let me just, so here we have one of the navigation cameras on Skydio 2, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but Skydio 2 has 6 4K navigation cameras, 3 on top, 3 on the bottom, and this is just the perspective of one of them. They're very wide angle, 200 degree cameras. And so this is just kind of how the footage from the camera looks, but there's a ton of challenging situations when it comes to vision. So these are some interesting examples of where we've tested Skydio 2 in order to put it in those challenging situations with thin obstacles, snow on the lens, reflective water. You guys all probably recognize a lot of these situations as being horror scenarios for bringing your Skydio. But really, this is something that will improve and iteratively get better as we continue to gather more data, and that it's clear, like when we look at all these situations that we're putting Skydio 2 in during testing, that there's definitely a lot more situations we can put it in and continue to get better and make a better product for our customers. And so the second step is to understand the environment. So it has to take all of that visual data, and it creates a map of the world. So here you're seeing the 3D point cloud. But in this visualization, you're also seeing Skydio 2 as it is predicting where the subject will go. So the little squiggly line is trying to figure out, okay, like this, okay, they're turning to the left now, we're turning to the left, and it's always trying to look into the future. So based on which direction you're moving, where are you going to be? So if you change directions really quickly, that's when it'll have to shift all of its calculations, 1.3 trillion operations per second, to figure out, okay, he's going back the other way. How do we need to fly in order to film him and avoid all these obstacles? And so here's just another cool visualization from the NavCam view of that 3D point cloud depth map. Basically, you can see the yellow means the obstacle is closer, and the further away you get, the more dark purple and pink it looks, and that's really just the base understanding that the drone has is what's close you need to avoid, what's far you need to worry less about. So this is how Skydio 2 sees, understands, and then ends up acting on flying around the obstacle that it sees. So yellow means, you know, fly around, and purple and dark areas are good to go. And so yeah, this is really that base layer that I was talking about that you can build upon once you have see, understand, act, which is basically all comes down to obstacle avoidance, right? Once your drone can safely fly itself and you don't have to worry as much about other factors, this is where you can actually start to do really interesting things on top of that, which is one thing I'll talk about is not necessarily a consumer feature, but I do think it's one of the more impressive things that we've built on Skydio 2 that's not actually filming and following for consumers is 3D scan, which is basically gives Skydio 2 the ability to capture photogrammetry data needed for inspection or for building digital twins. So basically, you just can set your bounding box here on the asset you want to inspect. Skydio 2 will fly and kind of explore the area and try to figure out, okay, like what's actually inside this box that my pilot set for me, and then it uses that data to plan out every single shot that it needs to take in order to get your desired resolution. So then it flies the path, takes the shots, and then you can feed all this photogrammetry data. I should have used an example of a cell tower, but I couldn't find it. But then this one is also just much prettier. But this is basically the end result after you are able to take all that photogrammetry data and put it into an engine that can render it out into a 3D model. And all of this data is generally captured by 2 to 3 people because you need an expert pilot who can actually just fly the drone without crashing. And then you need somebody to understand how photogrammetry works and understand how to get full coverage and make sure you don't miss any spots, because if you get back home and you realize, oh, okay, I didn't take enough photos of the left side of this tower here, you're kind of out of luck at that point. So I want to talk a little bit about the evolution of drones and kind of how we see this evolution progressing. So obviously drones came from toys, but have grown into super valuable tools for a variety of use cases. But there's still those early day lofty expectations of a drone that can fly out of a box and can do inspections autonomously and can patrol my property, and all those things really haven't come to fruition because there's a lot of this base technology that hasn't been around yet. And now that it's becoming more prevalent, many of these potential use cases are becoming possible. But we kind of see that the future of drones will need to be built on a base layer of intelligence driven by advanced software, and this will result in autonomous workflows and integrated solutions. That just really makes everybody's life quite a bit easier. And the bottom line really is that existing use cases are going to get much easier, much less training required in order to inspect a bridge when you can tap a few buttons and let your drone do the inspection for you. And also new use cases will be opened up. As we're seeing just with Skydio 2, there's so many things that consumers are able to do now without the need of an expert pilot or without the need of their friends to help film them that were impossible before. And we really see this as similar to the transition from very hardware-centric flip phones, where it's basically like advertising is like, can you hear me? Like, if you can hear me, like, that's good. Like, that's pretty much what your phone is supposed to do. It's supposed to make phone calls. So if you can make phone calls like Nokia, you're a champ. But as soon as there comes more use cases because of the development of technology, really what happens then is that the platforms that have the best software and the best developers, that's what really matters. And it's really like the example between like Android and iPhone, like who's really winning that battle and what have they focused on? Obviously, Apple has focused on the ease of use, the user experience, and on the software, which is why they're winning that. So now let's talk about Skydio 2. Oops, there we go. So what makes Skydio 2 stand out from a consumer perspective? Well, the true 360-degree obstacle avoidance that you can trust is really something that like you have to experience for yourself in order to truly understand, especially if you've piloted drones in the past, especially if you've crashed drones in the past. It's a really totally different experience that really unlocks, for me personally, unlocks a lot of my creativity. And yeah, so as far as ease of use, not only is the app easy to use and the drone easy to use, but it's also just easy to capture footage of yourself, capture footage of your friends without having to think too much about where you want to place the camera, because there's a certain level of cinematography that's kind of just taken care of for you if you want. And then also going back to kind of some of the earlier attempts at building a camera that can fly and follow you, there was always the either there was attempts at visual tracking in more recent history, but there's also been attempts at GPS tracking. But with the Skydio beacon, we've really brought those two things together and really kind of made the best of both worlds, where we have the really accurate visual tracking versus the GPS tracking, which really allows for more scenic and cinematic views of the landscape while while the subject is riding or what have you in the area there. So this is something that for me, like I said, I was kind of the guy on the snowboard always filming my friends. I wasn't necessarily as interested in filming my friends, but I was really interested in editing the footage and having something that we could share of our experience. But we now live in a world where anyone can do this, and no matter their creativity level, drone experience, or camera savvy, they can capture incredible footage while they actually live in the moment, focus on their activity of choice. This is something that I just really gravitate towards, because I also have all those interests in sports and action sports, but also at the same time I have creative interests. So like I have ADHD, so I just like want to move from one thing to the next. So if I have a bunch of different interests that I can actually do all at the same time, that's great. That's a win for me. And this is kind of like a result. This is one of a clip from one of the videos that I made while testing Skydio 2. This is kind of everybody kind of knows me as the one wheel guy, but I initially only got the one wheel because I was tired of climbing these hills on my mountain bike or walking up them with all my gear, and with the one wheel, it became a perfect opportunity to do some field testing and also have some fun at the same time. And this is something that I've kind of always dreamed of, and that's kind of why I really connected with like the Skydio audience, because I think a lot of other people too have had that same desire to be able to capture these types of moments. And the thing that I also is probably one of my favorite things about Skydio 2 is that you capture those unexpected moments. So these are not the type of moments that you'd really turn on a camera and be like, all right, let me go film this. They're kind of more the things that just happen. And if there's Skydio 2 owners in this chat, I'm sure there are. I'm sure you guys have some instances like this that you've captured, and it's not something that's fun in the moment, but looking back, it's actually a pretty fun thing to have and to be able to share with people. So yeah, I really like being able to capture the unexpected, and that's what Skydio 2 does best. And also, just the fact that when you're flying manually, you have this this kind of orb around you that's keeping you from safety, enabling you to not only not crash, but also still get the shot. So this is one of my shots from in Hawaii, where basically all I wanted to do was like, okay, let's fly at this tree and like see what the drone gives me for a shot. And I was able to do this, you know, 4 or 5 times, just backwards and forwards. This is just the one that I was like, okay, that's the best one. And you know, the thing that I'd always experienced with other drones was that if obstacle avoidance was on, like I mean, I wasn't even flying it. Every time I took off, I would just turn it off because it would ruin every single one of these shots. And I also wouldn't really attempt this shot in this way with a drone that has no obstacle avoidance on. It would probably be, you know, at least 10 feet away trying to make it through here. And it's definitely a different experience for sure. And again, here's like some of you may have seen this. This is another shot from Hawaii, but this isn't reversed or anything like that. You'll see cars here going by. But this shot is something that there's no way I would be able to do that shot for the first time without you know, seeing the environment first. I definitely would have crashed into those little leaves there at the bottom. I wouldn't even consider it. And yeah, I just really feel like because of this, I'm really able to just kind of be as creative as I want to be. I don't really have to think about you know, the downside of my creative endeavors. I'm just focused on just moving the camera in an interesting way. So I want to talk a little bit about our customers, because they definitely, like I said, have done a lot for us in providing all of this incredible content for us to share. But some of the reasons why our customers love Skydio 2 is because you're able to get up in the air much faster than previously with things like, you know, GPS calibration dances, where you're trying to take off in a new location or near, you know, a train or some other large metal object. Something like that can really hamper your ability to get in the air. With Skydio, we're relying on vision as opposed to GPS, so it's really not something we have to think about before takeoff. And also, the app not only makes it super simple and easy to share or use the drone and fly it, but it also makes it really easy to share your experiences. And the really cool thing that not a lot of people know, this is like pro tip for Skydio owners, especially if you're a new owner. The footage that you export from the Skydio 2 app, it's full resolution. So if you're shooting in 4K 60 and you export a clip from the app, it's going to be that 4K 60 resolution, no compression whatsoever. And so you could literally just airdrop that to your computer, and then you could, you know, if you want to edit it or if you just want to post it, like it's up to you. But I think that's really cool. I don't know of any other apps that are going to export 4K 60 to your camera roll like that. But and also, it's super easy to export still frames of that 4K footage. And you know, if you have an interesting flight, then you definitely want to have like photos and video from that experience, right? So like you're able to do that with Skydio 2. And obviously you're safer from crashes, and because of that, you're able to fly where others can't. And that just goes back to like being as creative as possible. You're not really having to think about these other outside factors. You can really just think about like, okay, like what do I want to try to achieve with this shot? And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But at least your drone isn't in a river or something like that. And obviously, hands-free capture is huge, and that's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time. But also the ability to have automated cinematography, and at the same time have that 360-degree obstacle avoidance that's always on, making sure that you're safe while you're getting your shots. It's really a game changer in my opinion. And want to play this quick little video, just kind of listening into the community and what they have to say about their Skydio 2s. Oh, I just realized we're probably not going to get audio, so maybe we'll skip this one. This one is not very good without audio. I'll drop the link in the chat as well for you guys. You can enjoy that. I want to talk a little bit about like who our customers are. This is something that's not really hard and fast to me. I see myself in a lot of these categories, but I think there's a lot of overlap and cross-pollination between these, because I kind of feel like I fall in all these categories, but definitely cinematographers and photographers who want to have that you know, experience motorbiking or traveling across Vietnam or like what have you. You have a perfect option in Skydio 2 if you want to focus on the actual moment that you're living in, as opposed to always being behind the camera, because that's something that, you know, I know is a stressful thing, and I don't like being in that environment where it's always about you filming other people and not being able to be in the shot and taking part in the activities with everyone. So obviously, action sports athletes, mountain bikers, snow sports, all of that, you guys know that this is like the perfect product for that. But tech enthusiasts is another one that's really big, because just the fact that Skydio 2 does things that no other drone can really do. People want to experience that, and it's I mean, I don't blame them. It's one of the things that, like, I still tell people all the time. It's like, you just got to experience it for yourself, because it's really impossible to, you know, it's impossible to show you guys what it's like to experience it. So I think that's definitely a key driver when it comes to our audience, is that it's something groundbreaking and new and different. So like I said, it is PhotoCon, so it wouldn't be right for us to just show you guys a bunch of video. So I'll talk a little bit about how photography with Skydio 2 again is like a totally unique experience for the end user, because you can just drive down the scenic road, and then you can export your 4K frame from that footage, and you have now an incredible, beautiful video of you and your van driving down this road. But you also have another piece of content that you can share. Maybe you can put it on your wall. But there's so many more uses for that content that you're shooting than just, you know, that one piece of footage. And this really opens up the opportunity for people to have incredible shots of themselves, not holding a controller or you know, choosing for the shot, but really they can just focus on what they love, which is, you know, hiking, or, you know, van life, or, you know, potentially motorsports, zooming through the dunes. And this is like just an incredible shot to me. I feel like this could be like in somebody's photography portfolio, but really it's just a 4K frame exported from the Skydio app. And what's really cool to think about is that in one flight, a 20-minute flight, shot at 4K 60, you have 85,000 frames to choose from. So you're really bound to have some really awesome shots if you just go digging and kind of look through all the gold that you've shot during your flight. And also for you photographers out there who really want to focus more on lining up the shot and getting the perfect angle, obviously we also support, you know, shooting 12 megapixel DNG raw photos via photo mode. But I always recommend just, you know, shooting video and then enjoying your life, and then just afterwards going back and being like, okay, this is cool. Like I captured my experience, and now I have something to share, and I didn't have to think about it the whole time. And I already mentioned this a few times, but I really do think that the Skydio app has really made it really interesting for our customers to be able to think even less about the whole content creation process, when you can really just fly your drone and you can export a clip and you can post it immediately. You don't have to think about your SD cards or getting the footage onto your computer. Really, you can just do that whole process just from your phone, which is really the way it was designed to be. And really, the thing that we've just like iterated on over and over again is that we want the Skydio app to be more like a phone camera than it would be like a cockpit, which is something I think we've really achieved and done a good job at. So what's next for Skydio? Well, we want to continue the mission, make the world more productive, creative, and safe with autonomous flight, and that means building upon that Skydio autonomy base layer and building new skills and building features that will be able to make drones even more prevalent in our day-to-day lives, and also will probably change the way our society operates quite a bit too, just because of all the incredible things that we'll be able to do in the future. And before I want to open it up for Q&A, I'm a little nervous considering the chat that I saw. But I also want to make sure that everyone here is able to experience that the power of autonomy, and that I've been able to experience, that I've been rambling and talking about for the last hour. I think it's something that is truly an unexplainable experience to, at least for me. It's even being on the marketing team, it seems that it's like a really difficult thing to describe to people. So that's why I think like getting a demo, if you know somebody who has a Skydio 2, that's also like definitely a pretty awesome experience. So yeah, so let's open it up for Q&A. I know, let's see. How are we going to do this? Oops. I see battery life. Let's see.